Hello you guys. This video is slightly different from what I normally post on this channel, but for one of my media classes in college, one of the projects was to produce a short podcast episode, and I decided why not film it and upload it to the internet. I also asked you guys what my topic should be on. You guys picked like dealing with burnout. I feel like it's a universal experience and this advice could help a lot of you. I suggest making a quick cup of tea or getting a quick snack and sitting down and just kind of listening to me talk, because this video isn't visually as interesting. I hope this is kind of fun and maybe I can make this into a series. If you guys really like this video, let me know. Please comment down below and give this video a like if you really enjoyed it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this fake podcast episode and let's just get on into it. Why is it a universal experience for college students to always find themselves super stressed or overwhelmed? After this episode, I want the all-nighters, the overconsumption of caffeine, and feeling like you're never going to catch up to stop right now. Because I believe that 2025 will be your year. Hello you guys, welcome back. My name is Katelyn DeWitt. I'm a college student in New York City, and I transferred here after doing community college back in my hometown in Washington, D.C. in Virginia, which is a little bit more of like a slower paced lifestyle than New York City here. I'm currently on my second year here in New York, and I feel like doing college in New York is a little bit different than the traditional college experience route. I feel like it's slightly more demanding, and there's just a lot more external pressures that I feel like just being in New York itself, I feel like college students are very prone to burnout, especially being here. And a little bit of some background for my work ethic, it's not honestly the best. My time management has been horrible since moving here. I feel like there is so many things to do and see and be present for that I find myself to overcommit to a lot of things. And when it comes to the actual quality of my assignments and work, I tend to get everything in on time, but I tend to not be that efficient with it as much as I would want to be, if that makes sense. I also am in a bad habit of pulling all-nighters very frequently to write papers and do assignments, but I also partially blame that on the fact that I actually work better under pressure and at night, which is not a good combination. I'm trying to fix that a lot in the new year, but I feel like it's hard to go from being someone who's super productive at night and then like waking up early and trying to get work done first thing in the morning. But with all of these patterns, this behavior has led me to a lot of different time periods of burnout and feeling super overwhelmed and feeling like I'll never catch up. And I don't know if any of you guys feel this way, but there's times where I get so stressed out that I can't do anything. It's almost like my anxiety of the to-do list never ending just paralyzes me, and I can't do anything but sit in it, and I can't even bring myself to do my work, which further pushes me down a deeper hole of like further being behind. But anyways, now that you kind of understand where I'm at, let's define burnout. When I looked up burnout, the term, according to Google, says it refers to a state of emotion, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged or excessive work-related stress. It also relates to the feeling of powerlessness or emptiness, and I feel like the feeling of powerlessness kind of relates to the fact where when I get super overwhelmed, I can't do anything and I feel like I'm not in charge of my own life anymore. It's like I get really hard on myself about like those things piling up, and then I just can't catch up, and I'm just like sitting in all of these overdue assignments. One thing I also learned that can connect to burnout is also productive procrastination, which is where you have like so much schoolwork or other things to do, and then you find yourself procrastinating, but by doing other productive things. Like for example, if I have a lot of anxiety writing a paper, I'll clean my room. But going forward with kind of this negative discussion, I think if we stay ahead of this curve, then we obviously don't find ourselves in this mess to begin with. And it's almost like you can prevent it before it even happens. But I also understand from personal experience that it is hard to get out of that slump or deep hole of things to do if you're already so deep in it and behind on a lot of things. So hopefully this advice I'm about to give you kind of helps inspire and almost get yourself into a new rebrand for 2025 to further break the pattern and stop it before it gets to be too much, if that makes sense. So then we ask, how do we overcome this feeling of burnout? And I think the most important thing, if you're going to take anything from this episode, is to fix your sleep schedule and start eating healthier. I've learned from past experiences of this, like going through depressive episodes and low points in my life. I noticed that if you fix your sleep schedule, that usually is the main route to a lot of things. You honestly don't even need to be starting the assignments. It's almost like just going back to the extreme basics and notice how you're treating your body. If you're currently in a stage of burnout or feeling very overwhelmed, you're most likely not getting like 8 hours of sleep every single night, and I highly suggest just getting 8 hours of sleep and just noticing how that might change your life going forward just by going to bed early and waking up early. I've also just noticed from personal experience that my most successful successful seasons of life are when I'm going to bed early and regularly waking up early as well. The second thing I would also suggest is make time for things you love and find joy in. I have noticed once I have so many things to do in work and school and just a bunch of things, I don't really spend or prioritize making time for things that I love doing. So maybe going on a walk or listening to your favorite song or finding a new hobby, like maybe just developing or devoting time to that throughout your day. It can just be 5 to 10, even 15 minutes of just reading a little bit of like your favorite book or going on a nice walk outside if it's sunny out. Also, if you're more of like an athletic person, maybe that might just be going to the gym. That's like another thing I also want to start doing as well. I've noticed that like if I'm just going to bed early or waking up early and just regularly working out, that does like wonders for me, especially when I'm in an overwhelmed state of life. And then also we need to remind ourselves to take breaks, because sometimes it's important to say no to things and also not overcommit. I feel like that's also one of the biggest things when it comes to getting super overwhelmed, is because you might be overcommitting on a lot of things. I think it's important to take a breather here and there. And then also one really important thing is to create a schedule with goals that actually work best for you and that are achievable and measurable as well. It's really important to get to know your routine and your body and figure out what will work for you as well to help you be more successful. I think it's easy for all of us to create goals, but it takes a lot of time to curate goals that are realistic and achievable to you. I know what it's like to also start and like make a whole entire goals and wish list thing and map out like your dream life, but in a way it's so unrealistic. And then when you don't hit those goals, it's like you get so like overwhelmed and burn out over it because you're realizing that you're failing, but in a way you're not. It's just because you're not setting realistic goals for yourself. I think a lot of us tend to compare each other about a lot of things that we see on social media on how goals and lifestyles that we aspire to live like, but most of the time that just doesn't work for all of us, because all of us have very different schedules. There's so many different factors that not all of us can live the same, or we can't just Google and copy and paste the same goals list as others. I think definitely one of the most important things you can do is creating a schedule that works best for you, not like what your friend or social media tells you to do. If you create a bunch of unrealistic goals, you'll constantly feel like you can't accomplish anything, which I've definitely experienced many times in my life. Along with the goal making, like I said, also creating a schedule. So it's important to block out when you're going to do work, when you're going to take breaks, when you're going to relax, see friends, do your hobbies, and do the things like I mentioned earlier. And I think that this structure will help you not feel super overwhelmed and drowning in your work, because when you hit those assigned goals in that time frame, those stressors won't bother you after your work session or something that you made for yourself. And I know it might seem insane to block out certain things for your calendar, like blocking out a time to hang out with your friends or blocking out a time to work on a paper. But I think especially if you're in like such a deep hole of burnout and already so behind on a lot of things, it's almost like you have to take charge on that. At least do that for a first couple of weeks until you're a little bit more back up to pace again and back up to like a standard level after being so overwhelmed with a lot of things. Like when you have such a long to-do list and a lot of different stressors, it's like you get so overwhelmed and you don't know what to start first. So when you assess that to-do list and block it in certain time frames that work best for you and work through them one by one, it really helps to move through the work instead of just getting super overwhelmed with like this huge pile of work that will never get done in the first place. So I think as what we learned, and the most important things to take from this are recapping on just those three main things, like fixing your sleep schedule and eating healthy, creating a schedule that will work best for you and making achievable goals, and then also making time for hobbies. And I think going forward, if you do these three things, it can potentially help dealing with burnout as a college student, or if you're also working full-time, and just hopefully overcoming that season of burnout. Like I said, not everything is perfect, and also we're always going to go through seasons of life where we're doing better or having a really successful week, but then also we're going to go through times where we're behind or feeling very overwhelmed and stuff like that. But like I said, I think if we can stay ahead of that curve, then we don't find ourselves in this mess too frequently or as much. If you do these three things, it's like you can prevent it before it even happens in a way. Thank you so much for listening to this first episode. Let me know if any of these tips have helped you, and then also leave your own suggestions in the comments below of what works best for you, and let's help each other out. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for listening.